It's 11 o'clock, everybody. Well, good morning. Hope everybody's well. My name is Christian. I'm a business development manager at Cardenas and also the lead person helping with Riskex through our partnership at Cardenas and Riskex. We've got James Sharp here today, who's going to be going through focusing on near misses to reduce accidents. Riskex are a full health and safety management system company. Fantastic product that they have. And that's one of the reasons why we've partnered with them. You will also notice on the bottom there is a question and answer tab. If we could ask anybody who has any questions to write them in there, and what we'll do towards the end of the presentation, if we've got time, we'll answer as many as we can. Any that we can't, we'll be giving back to James and his fantastic team to then be able to answer, and we'll be sending them all over to everybody along with a recording that we're going to be putting on YouTube as well. So without further ado, James, over to you.
Thank you, Christian, and thank you for inviting me to do this today. It's a great subject, able to show you not only AssessNET but also a client case study of where we've used near-miss reporting very successfully as well. So, brief introduction before I start. I've been around for quite a while now, 22 years. I've now worked for Riskex as one of the founding programmers behind the system, and then I did all my health and safety based qualifications as part of that as well, and my journey. And it's delightful today to be able to take you through some of the concepts regarding near-miss reporting, how we use our system to do that, and how you can take some of the insight from this presentation hopefully into your own business as well. So let's go into that. I'm going to take the camera off for the extraction. 2 seconds. There we go. Okay, so we're focusing on near misses to reduce accidents and how AssessNET assists in that objective. So first of all, what is a near miss? The HSC defines a near miss as an event not causing harm but has potential to cause injury or ill health. The term near miss also includes dangerous occurrences as defined under Riddle. So a lot of the time we don't segregate them. We look at dangerous occurrences and under incidents themselves and near misses, but you know, the dangerous occurrences coming under those categories, it's still classed as a near miss, and in near miss reporting, but you report it as a dangerous occurrence and defined under Riddle. But what does that mean? Well, so a worker slips on a wet floor, no sign, no warning, but it's not a fall. You want to be able to record that information and trend that information so you can understand, you know, is that going to keep reoccurring off the back of that as well? And we always say that a near miss not reported is the next accident. And that's what we're going to be going over, some of the advantages of reporting near misses and why these become quite important. And we see them every day. We see them in our home life. You know, we have a very close near miss. Thank God I didn't get injured off the back of that. But there are trends out there that show that the more of those you have, the more trends you have of those, there is an accident waiting around the corner. So let's have a look at some of the advantages of reporting a near miss. And there's a couple that we're going to go over today. So first of all, identifying health and safety issues and key patterns. So the ability for managers and supervisors to see systemic issues within their areas. So as we're getting that information in, we're allowing those managers or line managers and so on, and even the business owners, to understand that there are various issues and trends that are occurring, and how can we take that information and understand it better. Analyze the frequency and similarity between various reports. Are you starting to see that trend, and how similar are they with regards to it? How often are they occurring over a certain period? And how is that report going to go forward into controlling that and hopefully preventing an accident at the same time? Investigating root cause and preventing occurrence at source. We can take a near miss, we can understand essentially how that near miss occurred by looking at that root cause analysis. And sometimes it's the source, it's the root cause that becomes an important factor in preventing a reoccurrence. The other advantages is improving health and safety culture throughout the organisation, as is all health and safety management essentially. But near miss has seen that twofold in a lot of organisations that are forward thinking and proactive when it comes to their health and safety management. So culture is a huge thing when it comes to near-miss reporting, and it gets people involved. And it's one of my first points. It encourages employees to report and makes them part of the process. AssessNET's really good for doing this, as you'll see when we go through our case study, but it is about people being involved in that process of understanding that if they're seeing something that could cause a hazard, they're letting us know about that at the same time so that we can remedy that and being part of that individual culture. Demonstrate a proactive approach to concerns before they elevate into an incident. So essentially, we know as an organisation, if you're reporting your near misses, then the employees themselves are seeing that culture is that, yes, this business cares, they're proactive in their approach. I know I've got a safe working environment off the back of that as well. And I know that in some respects, the organisation is going to understand if something's going to elevate itself into an incident. I feel safe within the workplace itself, and it helps with that over in culture. Provide feedback and transparency regarding overall performance. If employees understand that there are various near misses occurring, if they can see that near miss trends are occurring, they can provide insight into that as well. They can see that the business is taking that seriously. They can also be part of the control as well, because some unsafe acts that turn into essentially near misses, or that blurred line between unsafe acts and near misses, comes down to behaviour of themselves as well and those around them. Reducing workplace risks, hazards and lost time. Probably one of the, again, forefront advantages with regards to near-miss reporting, and especially over a period of time. And what you see in a lot of organisations that have heavy near-miss based reporting, really good proactive reporting, they're seeing that reduce in risk and hazards, and of course lost time through injury and light duties. So make hindsight a reality is what I've always said with this. You know, when it's happened, we always think that when these things happen, I wish I knew about it before it did, or God, if only I knew that beforehand, or we could have done something about it. So making hindsight a reality is key with regards to near-miss reporting. It's what we're trying to do. Essentially, we're trying to read the future. We're trying to read where that incident is going to occur by looking at trends with regards to the reporting. Provide valuable trend information to assessors and safety champions. One thing that's missed quite a lot, in my view, with regards to risk assessments or any kind of assessment or audits, is that we don't necessarily look at incident data, and near miss is just part of that as well. If I can understand that there are various near misses occurring with a process or within an environment, then when you come to your assessors and your safety champions, they can forge that as part of their control. They can understand what other controls they may need to be put in place, and it's not just subjective to their opinion based on what the operator is doing there and then. You're looking at what trends have happened with regards to near misses and unsafe acts. So a very important aspect to it as well. And increase productivity, culture, control, confidence. If you're reducing the risks, the hazards and the lost time, productivity is going to be on point. You're going to have the right amount of people to do the job because you haven't got people off sick or ill on light duties because of incidents. The culture is better because people can see that people aren't off all the time, or their mate has not been injured, or they themselves haven't been injured. And of course, that creates better control in safety management because you have the right people there, and productivity side of things is not being stretched because you don't have the right amount of people. And of course, the confidence in the business, not just internally, but also externally as well, whether you do such things as ISO-based audits or analysis for suppliers and so forth as well. Showing really good proactive near-miss reporting is a really big tick in the box when it comes to that confidence. So we probably all know about the accident triangle, and I just wanted to finalise on this before we look at one of the business cases in near missing. And I've been careful not to put numbers in this because I'm actually aware that there are 5 or 6 different formats and ratios when it comes to it. But more importantly, the unsafe acts and near misses. The near misses tackle those early warning events. That's what we're looking to do. And what the triangle is showing is that the ratio of near misses is always going to come to a pivotal point where, unfortunately, there could even be a fatality, but there'll be a severe injury. And that's what the ratio is showing us. And we have things like the Heinrich pyramid, the Bird pyramid, which is like 300 near misses to 29 incidents to one major incident. And they're all different ratios. They've all got different studies against them. And the important thing with these studies is looking at what sector you're in, because every sector has a different accident ratio rate. However, the ratio is still a pyramid. If you really look at your near miss and unsafe acts, then essentially, even in today's numbers in 2021, 2022, so the latest numbers, still 123 workers didn't go home. And essentially what we're doing here is, by having a proactive reporting platform, we're able to hopefully prevent just another one of those numbers. And it's one of the founding reasons why Riskex does what it does, to start reducing that number. So this pyramid is really, really important, and you can go online and research your accident pyramids. There's a lot of different statistics and ratios when it comes to it. But let's not forget, we're looking at that bottom tier. How can we reduce those? And it pulls on really well to the case study that we had with the organisation that we've worked with for quite a while, because that's the reason they were doing it. They wanted better reporting for that reason. So let's have a look at a near miss reporting using our hazard reporting module, because it has even more bells and whistles. And it's a case study with ISS Facilities Services, which I'm sure you've heard about. They're in a lot of organisations. Let's have a look at that case study in detail, what their challenges were, how they worked with us, and then what the overall outcome was as well. So first of all, who is ISS? Well, they're a global facilities management company, over 30 countries, 350,000 employees worldwide, which 36,000 of those are in the UK and Ireland. So a lot of people to look after. You can imagine what that ratio must look like when it comes to per employee. UK and Ireland business focused on support customers in banking, healthcare, education, production, technology and government sectors. So they're in a wide range of sectors, wide range of incident types that could come from that as well. Been using AssessNET for 10 years across multiple modules. It's not just this particular module. They've been working with us for quite a while and utilise the system across their compliance. And they use the term near hit in reference to near miss, which captures all types of events. And lots of people use different types of terminologies for near miss, but they just chose to utilise near hit. So we'll be referencing it as we go forward with that. So let's see how the near hits were managed prior to the service. So historically, they recorded on paper, Excel, submitted centrally every month. I'm sure a lot of you now are sitting there thinking that's exactly what we do. See, we know the limitations with that, with recording it in such a way. No real understanding of trends, root cause, company-wise access to management information. Again, coming off the back of that, those Excel sheets, and is it being reported? Is there under-reporting? But they're not really understanding what the trends and the root causes. They haven't got that engine behind it. That was a big factor for them. No confirmation of what was done to rectify the near hit, reporter or even at business level. So I reported near hit, but I never got told what happened. Do I know it's even being listened to? At the same line, does the business even get any feedback as to what's happening with, say, that business organisational unit and what's happening with their near hits? So there's a need to modernise and gain greater understanding of the business risk and the data for their customers as well and their clients, because obviously they're subject to them as well as a service provider. So, how are your incidents? How are you doing? What your ratios looking like? And so they work closely to incorporate near hit into AssessNET. For them, at the time of their business, it was time for a change. And we'd been working with ISS for a number of years before this point, so they knew our platform and they knew what we could do with that. And that's why we worked with them to fit their requirement into our service. And let's have a look at that pilot in a bit of detail. So the pilot, which was in Q3 of 2020, had 4 key objectives that they needed to hit. Anyone should be able to report on any device quickly and easy. Let's face it, if you make that really difficult and cumbersome, people aren't going to report. It needed to be quick and easy. The system should have a feedback loop between managers and reporters. If we're going to put a near hit in, near miss, then we need a feedback to be able to give back to the reporter and say what's actually happening with that near hit. Managers should be able to review and close near hits, as well as create and monitor actions where required. We need you don't want to just stop with, I've got a reporting platform for near hits or near misses, and then I've got a reporting, I can feedback back to my user, but then I don't have anything that manages the actions to help reduce that. And again, it needed that connectivity. And then meaningful data should be available to manage risk, develop campaigns, and understand trends. So we needed reporting that come off the back of it. And that became quite an important aspect as well. We're going to go into each of these 4 subjects and just look at what we were doing and what their requirement was off the back of that as well. The great thing about a lot of these objectives is the system was already there. This was a case of fine-tuning about regarding what they required and start running that pilot alongside them. So let's look at these 4 main key objectives. So the first one, anyone should be able to report on any device quickly and easily. So they report on a phone, tablet, or laptop. Fine. We had mobile skin development. We've got an online service essentially across multiple devices. So they needed a quick way over several different mediums. Mobile responsiveness, providing a clear, friendly interface, because if you're going to use it on a mobile, you're going to use it on your desktop, then obviously it's going to change that interface, but that needs to be nice and clear. If we make any of this difficult, people aren't going to report. I'm sure you've all been in the similar boat within organizations. When it's a difficult process, people just don't do it. Simple and quick to use. Mirrors current organizational structure. So within AssessNET, there's an organizational structure that sits in there. It mimics your own. And obviously this system had to fall part of that as well, so that when they were doing their near misses, they were getting assigned to all the correct areas as to where those near misses were being reported. And that goes into the reporting side of the system as well. So it was an important factor. And the last one was can be accessed by QR code. So they wanted posters around so you can scan the QR code and go straight in and report your hazard off the back of that as well. So we utilize the same technology we had in the system for this process. Again, going on that very quick and easy approach. The second objective, the system should have a feedback loop between reporter and manager. And this is actually where we probably spent most of the time with regards to the pilot. This was a new feature that we were putting into the system alongside ISS at the time with regards to the module, and quite an exciting one really with what it actually did. So they needed the opportunity to leave contact details, but could remain anonymous. So we've got this feedback loop, but you needed to be able to report an incident or near hit, sorry, and you needed to have the option that you could at least be anonymous if you wanted to. Let's say vicarious liability, unsafe act of managers. You don't want to get yourself too much on hot water, so you need a way of whistleblowing that. The system has that option, but obviously it means there's no feedback loop, but they at least gave them the option to be able to do that. But they wanted people to be able to leave contact details so that they could have a feedback loop that was within the system. So this isn't something that's external, it's within the system itself. Unable to close off without sending a response. So there was triggers put into the service. So if you put a near hit into the service and you don't then respond to the reporter, you can't close the near hit. You can't deem it completed because there was never any contact with the reporter. Even if it's a case of this has been reported by someone else, thank you anyway for your report. There's got to be feedback back. So that person can understand that they are being listened to. So again, triggers in place to prevent that. Provide greater understanding of near hit by gathering further information. So if you've got a near hit or near miss come in, I'm sure you've had this before, where you have a report come in and it's ambiguous. There's not a lot of information in there that you necessarily need to do your investigation. So by having a feedback system, it allows you to get that information. and for it to store it in the system as well, because this feedback is all done external and internally into the system and saves in the system for you. So you can see all the conversations that are undergoing for any evidence. Give reporter confidence that reports are being treated seriously and will be responded to. So ultimately, by having that feedback, that's what they're looking to do. They want to show confidence that they're actually doing something about it. Third objective, managers should be able to review and close near hits, as well as create and monitor action plans. So we have live dashboards, which mirror the organisational structure. We spoke about that organisational structure a moment ago. We have dashboards in the system which mimic that, so you can look down and stats and very quick stats on your particular organisational unit or department, so that managers could understand essentially what their near hits look like, how many were open, how many were pending, what their trends were. Allow the business to drill down into sector, account or site level statistics as well, so you can get some reporting off the back of that as well. Show 3 stages of near hit: pending, active and complete, which was great because that married up with our task manager. Our task and action service engine that sits in the background runs off 3 stages: pending, active or complete. So it runs along the same bearing of that, where they can see the status of a near hit, whether it's pending, meaning that it's come in fresh, active, meaning that there's communication and they're doing something about it, and complete, being that everything plus the actions included are completed with that near hit. And create actions that are managed and completed via task manager, which comes into that 3-stage process. So we have a task management service already. The other modules that they utilize, we're using that as well. This needs to feed into that and be working just as cohesively with regards to where are we with our actions? Can we gain reports off the back of those as well? And the last objective, so meaningful data should be available to manage, risk, develop campaigns and understand trends. So getting the reporting out the back of it and then pushing internal safety campaigns as well. So easily identify most common types of near hits for them. So do those dashboards and reports show them the most common ones? Identify if particular trends are occurring at a particular account or location. So they're starting to see what accounts are suffering more than others, or certain sectors or business units. Provide data around specific risk so it can be used as focus areas for internal audits. As I said earlier in the initial slides, that's something that's is quite missed. We don't necessarily look at a lot of accident trended data when we're undertaking audits, inspections or assessments. So again, getting that information very quickly for the auditors means they're more liable to use that information for its advantage. So they needed a really quick way of doing that. And then helping tailor the ISS internal campaigns and communication. So the more information they have, knowledge is power, they can then take that information and put it throughout their safety campaigns. And that's exactly what they were doing. So off the back of the objectives that they were looking for, we then looked to do a launch. So we worked with them with regards to their objectives. A lot of that was configuration within our system as it was. Some of that we built in for them as so the feedback loop, for instance, and we were then ready to do a bit of a launch, which they did it in conjunction as well with a safety campaign. So let's have a look at that. So they launched it in 2021, their stand down campaign. And there was a couple of things that they did off the back of this campaign of the pilot as well, which was really clever. And we work with organisations to help them create materials if they need to, or send them information. Some do their own materials, some don't, some rely on what's in the system as well. But they went all out on this because it was a very, very big thing. And you'll see from the numbers that were reported. So there's quite a lot of things that were built off the back of them for their pilot. They created near hit videos. They put real life examples of near hits from around the business, formal procedures, guidance, a reporter's quick guide, a training pack with audio, championed by their safety leaders within the business. That's another key aspect. And then they have various posters and toolbox talks around it. So they put the effort in to get the reporting going, because we were putting a system in place with regards to their pilot. It was important that there was a level of success behind this as well, of course. And so they put down the materials ready for getting it out there. And when we got the pilot out there, we saw the data come in. We worked with ISS on that. We were showing trends and making small tweaks for them at the same time. And of course, it had some initial challenges as we went through that process. So some of the initial challenges that we had with rolling out a new platform, essentially a new near miss, near hit reporting platform across a business of that size. Staff were hesitant to use their own devices because you could just pick your mobile phone up, scan a QR code and report something. It was as simple as that. So a little bit hesitant at first in using their own devices. Not all of the customers allowed staff to have devices with them on site, but you had desktop ways of reporting it and other mediums as well to report through. Some older makes and models of smartphones had interface issues with kind of responsiveness and how mobile phones work. Luckily, we're in a stage now where they're almost long gone, but there's still some around that we have to work with. Not everyone had a smartphone if they wanted to utilize that process. Languages become a bit of an issue in the workforce. They have some people of various native language, and we have processes for that within AssessNET now as well. Near hits being allocated to the wrong locations, you know, people not understanding the tier system because maybe they weren't open to AssessNET, they've not seen it before, they've not used it before. A lot of ISS use AssessNET daily, but you have a lot of staff members never used it before. So understanding that was important. Managers not monitoring the system effectively. So internal management were getting all the data, but they weren't then monitoring it. They weren't putting their time into it and understanding it effectively. And near hits started and not completed. So they'd started to report a near hit, and it never went any further off the back of that. It was never sent all its way to completion. And so these challenges are really important. It's really important we're open about these challenges and transparent about them, because this is what we relish. This is why we do a pilot, and it's why we understand those challenges. Our job is to remedy those challenges with regards to ISS. Some of them are internal, cultural, behavioural. We can't do those ones. ISS worked really hard on doing those ones, and we did the others, such as looking at smartphone interfaces, how to make it easier, different types of reporting. And so we worked with them over a few months just to tidy all that up through the pilot, and we launched across the organisation, and it's been launched ever since. So the question you're all asking yourself is, has it worked? Absolutely, it worked. And these are essentially, this is data from ISS. It's not me formulating this on the basis of ISS, this is what they gave us. So it did work. Their term to it was absolutely. Over 35,000 near hits recorded in 2021, compared to 20,000 in 2020, which was the kind of initial pilot launching phase. I can tell you now that number is even higher. And it's a constant thing. It's now a business process within those. Imagine looking at that ratio that we looked at earlier in the slides, imagine now in your business if you were able to have hold of that data. What would that trend tell you now about some incidents? How important that is. Customers embrace the service wholeheartedly. They were getting fantastic testimonials from their customer base that they were working with about having this system and how easy it was to gain data from it as well. Identified incidents which have required further investigation. Well, there you go. That's the exact reason we do it, because we're trying to identify that there's incidents that need investigation. We've probably, or very likely, saved someone from a major incident just from doing this. Provide real indicative data to managers regarding workplace hazards. I mean, some of you now on the webinar may well be in that predicament. You may be a manager of certain areas. Imagine if you had this information daily. So I say daily, real time. The moment you walk into the system, you'll get this information. That's really valuable to you. Staff felt engaged, that they were seeing actions taking place because of that feedback system. They were engaging. They were like, well, brilliant. I can see that this is being done. They could see such and such got fixed off the back of it as well. Provide focus areas for our internal audit schedule. So they started to change their audit schedules because they could see there were certain areas they needed to focus on more than others. Used to build specific operating units and plans and objectives within their management systems themselves. So if you've got ISOs, for instance, or internal procedures and objectives. This information is really useful for that. And lastly, it made managers and supervisors' accountability visible. We could see managers in certain units and how their unit was operating off the back of it, and they're accountable for getting those things organised and fixed. So as you can see, just from those bullet points, and we could probably be here for quite a while, it really did work. And it's been a pleasure. It's a pleasure actually working with them. And obviously they're one of many with regards to clients that utilise the hazard module for near-miss reporting. So a really, really powerful tool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a quick look at the module itself. I'm just going to give you a bit of a high-level tour of how that module operates before we move on to some questions. So as you will be aware, our system is completely cloud-based, can be anywhere in the world, use multiple devices to be able to gain access off the back of it. We have various levels of security to be able to get into the system. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going into my demo platform where I'm going to have all my dashboards built up for me. There's a lot here. We could spend hours going through this system and I could show you lots of juicy stuff, but we're going to focus on our hazard reporting side. So I've logged in. I'm a manager at this moment in time. And you'll notice here I've got my hazard reporting quick link here because that's what we're going to show. And I even have essentially some of my dashboard down here as well, because I can customize my own home pages to show me what I would like to see. But let's have a look at hazard reporting. So with hazard reporting, there are two methods essentially that you can utilize with regards to reporting a hazard. It can be done through the main system, as I am now, but it can also be done through our portal service. And this portal service is what employees and staff members, we talked about the QR codes, for instance. This is where you can use things like QR codes to go straight to this, which is all mobile responsive. It means then they don't need usernames and passwords. There's other methodology that we utilize for the security, and they can come in and they can report a hazard through this service. The form itself, as we can see here, this form will change based on what I'm looking at. So if I'm utilizing a mobile device, it's going to show me a mobile skin instead of the desktop one that we see now. And we can see here that very easily I can either put my details in or I can report it anonymously. Now, if I report it anonymously, I'm not going to get the feedback loop off the back of it. We can put the date in, we can categorize it if we wish, which is a customizable element. There's huge amounts of customization within the system itself. So a lot of what you see here, you can customize. We've got hazard levels, so you can categorize it to a certain hazard. And at the same time, add a risk rating if you wish. Don't have to have that on, you can have it on. Some organizations like the reporter to just add what they feel the likelihood and severity of harm would be if that was to cause an incident. Your description, any information that you might be relevant with regards to actions you've taken, maybe you've moved something out of the way. And of course, anything you can give with regards to root cause. And once they submit this, and it's as simple as that, that goes into our near-miss reporting service through hazard. And if I was stuck on any of this, I can take a tour and it will tell me what things are on screen if I need to, guide me through the process. And we also have an e-learning package as well that shows you how to use that module. Again, because we like to be as much hands-off as possible. We know that not everyone is going in the system all the time. So understanding what things do is really important. Now, we spoke earlier there about objectives, about languages. And again, you can see here, we've got a language pack up here. This is just a couple of the demo languages, but we could be doing it and sitting here doing this webinar in French if we wish. If a user actually uses their native language to type into the system, it will automatically translate that to the next language. So if I'm looking at it, if I have someone in France, essentially, that puts it all into French, and then I have someone in Italy that looks at it, it will change it into Italian for them at the same time. So we have our language packs as part of that process. Now, when they go through this process, they're done. They can walk away from it now. They've put their details in. Maybe they've put their contact information in. Zoom this in a bit for you. And now what I can do is in my hazard reporting, I've got my dashboard. So first of all, I can see here what's actually happening. I'm a manager, so we talked about this organizational structure unit. So I could look at Riskex and then all our locations and where I need to sit. And I can essentially change all these stats to where I need it to be. So what do those stats look like for me? So instantly as a manager, I can see if I've got any pending hazards or I've got any trends here with regards to my hazards. I can equally use the little icon here to add it to my homepage. So if I feel that stat is important to me, I can have it, as you saw when we first entered, to have it on our homepage at the same time. Reporting in AssessNET is a key fundamental. We've got it all over the service. If I go back to the main menu here and I go to search for a hazard, so we have all of these come in. We can use the reporting tools to be able to see what type of hazards are coming in and look at the trends off the back of those. We have quite a powerful BI platform, which can look at an enterprise level BI trending with regards to hazards. But equally, we've also got our search engines around the system based on their modules. And these are really useful because you could imagine that if you're having a lot of hazards coming in, being able to search them based on categories will be a really important factor. So either we could look at it from organizational groups and it based on your permissions and what you're allowed to see, because that's a really important process. I could identify that I only want to see hazards of a certain type, but I can also do advanced criteria and look a little bit deeper if I wish to, and look at it from a hazard perspective. So which of my near hits essentially have come in that are electrical categorized. From that, we then get our hazards. So I've just done a really quick search. So there's currently 6 pages worth of data. You've seen how prompt that is. This is all live. I'm online at the moment. And these are my hazards that have come in. And I can see various stages here as well. So I can see that I've got a slip chip full one here that's currently pending. By that, it means it's come in brand new. So it's been notified. It's come in. No one's done anything about it. And we can see active as those someone's actually starting to do something about it. Completeds are not shown here. You filter those out as you do them. So it's not filling them up, but you can see them later. And you'll also notice that you have a couple where they've got risk ratings because we made it an option. If you want to rate it as a risk, that would be useful for the person who's going to remedy it. Maybe they might have a different view, but it's good to get their point. And then we have our action status. So anywhere in the system where possible, it's going to give you information based on what your actions look like. So there are some actions associated with this, which we'll be having a look at, but I can see straight away, without even going in the report, I can see that this electrical one here is active. So it's been picked up, it's been discussed, but I can also see it's got one action that's completed. So this is probably ready to be closed and possibly closed off, and they would have been notified of that as well. Similarly, the one below that, this animal one, I can see that there are 3 actions that are currently pending. So even our action manager, our action task manager has that status in it as well. Now going through these, if I was to go through the edit process, you can see the process. I can see everything that they've put in, where they've categorized it. They haven't done a risk rating. But if I say and continue, I get the next stage and the next step as well, because I'm a manager. So from here, I can start assigning actions with regards to the problem itself, and that will go into our task management service. I can also upload any supported documentation as well that I wish to put in there. And it's worth noting that you can enable that as well from the reporter side when they're doing it on mobile and so on, and they can upload a picture. But I can put more supported information into it, especially useful for where you are remedying the near hit or the near miss, that you're putting that supportive information up. If I save and finish, I get to my report. Now I can go to the report directly from the search engine if I wish to, and I can download this report if need be. But from this point, essentially, I can see everything with regards to what's happening. And I got a couple more tools off the back of this as well. We can see that because it's actually been reported by somebody, meaning it's not anonymous, this opens up the feedback system, which does allow me to send messages. And what it will do is that will email that person straight away, and it will give them a link in that email to say that we need a bit more information, and it will tell them what the message is. And that link takes them straight online, no username or password needed, and they can put their response in. And what that does is it creates a two-way traffic within the actual hazard itself, or within the near hit or near miss itself. So that as you're going backwards and forwards with their response, your response, and so forth, it's logging all that information in there as well. You have the ability to upload related files, as you said earlier, related notes, so you can create a conversation at the bottom if you wish. There might be other things you want to relate to it. And you have a record modification trail, which is great for ISO management, where it's showing that there's auditable trails on when things are being done. But equally with this, I could be sitting here and going, actually, yeah, I'm happy with this one. I've done a bit of feedback and I'm going to save that to active. So as simple as that, as a manager, I've now made that active. The whole status has now changed. I'm working with this, and until I need to, I can't complete. And if I try then to complete off the back of that, I can't, because we have an action that's outstanding. So there are triggers in there, as you saw through the case study that we have within the service, and a huge amount of what you see is customizable. So it's configurable within our admin panel for your own use. So you don't have to follow the same workflow, but it gives you all those kind of features and benefits off the back of them. To finish off with regards to the hazard reporting and those modules coming in, just going back very quickly with regards to looking at the reporting, my individual reporting is, again, those users, those managers are able to put essentially their dashboards onto their main home pages so that they can understand what stats are good for them. They can create quick links off the back of those as well. So as it's all coming in, they're understanding what those trends look like. They're not having to fish around the system. In some respects, they don't even need to go into the hazard module itself. All that data is being collected by end users. What we're doing is analysing it, understanding it, and starting to put actions alongside it. And what that does is it all ends up then in probably the biggest engine within our system, which is our task management service. Our task management service is used all the time, every day of the week, 24/7. It's telling them everything that they need to know as me as an individual. So all my individual actions, where they are, if they're pending, if they're overdue. But I also have a really robust search system. So if I've got lots of actions, I could say to it, well, I only actually want to see my hazard reporting actions. I only want to see them of a certain type or certain category. The other power of it is you can look down then on others. So if you've got permission to, and you have people below you, you can then say, well, actually, I want to see Gareth's task manager. I want to see what that looks like, or penned off his overdues and see what he's got for the next 30 days. We also have things like future tasks, but you've then got escalated tasks. So if tasks aren't being done, you can specify them to escalate automatically so that things aren't getting missed. If someone doesn't hit a task within a certain period of time, it will escalate up to their line manager, and that hierarchy is placed into the system for you. So Task Manager has a lot going for it. It's used all of the time. But again, like everything in AssessNET, it has its own visual dashboard at the same time, if you prefer a more visual approach to task management and understanding what your task looks like. So you can imagine if you had multiple modules across the system, what this is doing for compliance. But if you take it from an ISS perspective, this was revolutionary for them. It told them so much of what was happening, but we're not just at the near hit level. They could do it at the action level as well. So they could see it, plan, do, act, check all the way around because of the cohesiveness of the system doing all those parts for them and giving them the knowledge that they need. So hopefully you found that incredibly useful and going through the system, understanding with regards to a little bit of regards to near miss and some of the things to look for and the proactiveness of looking at near miss reporting. It is your holy grail in health and safety management. Hold it in high regard. It will save a life one day. And then a case study of understanding how our system's been used by quite a large organisation very successfully, and a little bit of a whistle-stop tour there on the actual module itself. So Christian, thank you for that.
No, still, thank you very much indeed, James. Fantastic. We've got a couple of questions, both from David Crosby, so thank you for these. First one was, the user portal does not have a near hit option. Users know what they are named here instead.
Right, so it's a very good question, actually. Within the system, you can actually change any of the wording. So ISS renamed near miss to near hit. So reporting a hazard inside Portal, which is what we've just looked at, which is the platform that's used for that, where it said reporting hazard or anything to do with hazard reporting, it said near hit, because we have language packs that sit behind that. We have organisations that rename COSH to chemical management. So you literally can rename, rebrand various parts of the service itself.
Fantastic, thank you for that. The next one, again from David. I wouldn't equate a near hit with a hazard report. One is an action, the other is an item.
Yeah, again, this is a really interesting question, because some people would, where is a near miss and where's like a hazard off the back of it? And again, that terminology, it blurs over sometimes. A lot of it comes down to its functionality and what people want to try and get out of that level of reporting. Whereas we've got an incident reporting tool, and that actually has a near miss report in it. Organizations will opt to also look at hazard reporting as their near miss reporting, because it also does all their ISO non-conformances, all those aspects of it as well. It looks at across the business range at various events which can help and aid compliance. And obviously, if you rename that to whatever you like within the config, it's just a more robust way of having a deeper near miss process, where you can then investigate off the back of the near miss. So the actions are an investigatory process of the near miss. You know, this is what we're going to do now to prevent that near miss later on. And obviously that can tally with the incident module at the same time. So that's how organizations use it. It's just got a lot more features.
Brilliant, fantastic. Thank you again, James. Right, Alison Snedden has asked, can photos of near hits be taken and added to each report?
Yes, they can. They can be done at the time on the phone through that process, or you can even do them at a later date and add them to it as well.
Brilliant. And then David, one more again. Is this system being used for accident reporting too?
Yes, it is. So it has an incident reporting module, and that's got a lot of bells and whistles in it itself. So yes, it has an incident module alongside.
Fantastic, brilliant. Everybody, if there are any other questions, please throw them out either to myself, Sue, and we'll be able to collate these for James to answer. We're going to put them all together with all of these answers along with the YouTube video of the recording and send it out to everyone as well. But if there are no other questions for now, I just want to thank James and Riskex for a fantastic presentation. Hopefully you all found it really worthwhile. And yeah, as I said, any questions, reach out to us. We'll be able to help in any way that we can as well.
Brilliant. No, thank you very much.
No, it's still brilliant. Thank you.